Do you consider yourself a rat?
I don't consider myself, no, I don't. I consider myself, when it came down to that, making a hard decision that, I knew I was getting indicted a month before they came and got me. That's when John Bologna got picked up and put into the witness protection program. But once you're in there, once you get arrested, you see what they have against you. You know that you're going to get life in prison. Okay, so it's like you're on the Titanic and the ship is halfway in the water, and you're the captain of the ship. You want to jump, but you gotta look out for your crew. So, I want to jump off this ship because I don't want to go to jail for the rest of my life. I love my kids more than that. So I don't give a fuck what anybody says. When you got a 5-year-old, a 6-year-old, and little kids, you got all kinds of businesses, success, wife, girlfriend, all kind, that's what comes more important. But for me to live with it, I want to make sure that my crew knows what I'm going to do before I even do it. It was like a club atmosphere. It was kind of empty. And there was no furniture. There was a table sort of like this, only a little bit lower.
Did you know what you were being called for?
Yeah.
You knew you were being made.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have any fear, or you knew that was happening?
Yeah, I didn't have no fear because I knew I didn't really do anything. What I did for New York, I went down and shot a guy 9 times for them on the streets of New York.
It was attempted murder.
Yeah.
You pleaded guilty to that.
I did.
The union guy?
I did, yeah. I pled guilty.
Yeah, so what?
He was a union guy. There was a beef with him and Artie and the Lucchese family over this guy, this union guy. And I don't know the exact, I know there was a union beef that, this guy belonged with us, and the Lucchese family was getting involved somehow. And then there was some type of disrespect that he showed Artie about, because Artie and this guy were friends, but he showed Artie some disrespect and somehow. So this was back in spring of 2003. And that's when I started to get really noticed by the New York bosses in New York, by them coming up and seeing what I had. I had all kinds of legitimate businesses and all kinds of street stuff. I had a large crew, and I started getting noticed by the bosses. So there was a couple of guys that were supposed to get made in my area. And, but when these guys kept seeing, coming up and seeing that, I had everything going, and they wanted me to get made also with them. So when this union beef came up, Artie wanted me to do a piece of work. He wanted me to have these other 2 guys come with me to do this piece of work that were proposed members in my area. And what was going to happen, they would have made the 3 of us. But these 2 guys in my area didn't want to go on the piece of work with me. When I mean a piece of work, to go kill this guy. And so I had to get my other 2 friends who are Greek, Freddie and his brother Ty. And, we've done so many things together, the 3 of us, that, asking them to come kill somebody with me is like, that was like nothing for them. So the next night, we went down. It's about a little over 2-hour ride to get there. We got to drive we had guns with silencers. So we had to, take a chance of driving in New York, and we had to leave in the early middle of the night, say 2:30 in the morning. So we had to drive on the highway. If we get pulled over with the silencers, we're going to get a lot of time with our records. We picked up Freddie. We went to the spot. We waited, for the guy to come out. When the guy came out, Freddie was the driver. Me and Ty came up, and the guy was getting in his car as we approached the car, and we just started shooting at him through the through the car. And when, you could see that. I remember Freddie pulling up, picking us up, and looking over and saying, "Oh yeah, he's dead." Called up the next day to talk to the guy John, and he said that the guy was still alive. He was shot 9 times, but he's not expected to make it. And I got made shortly after that.
What made you, decide that, no, I'm turning my back on this life for now, and I'm going to cooperate, which you did with the government, and serve time?
It's a very hard decision. You have a death penalty case, and it comes to a point where you have to say, what's more important, your little kids, your family, or the mafia? And then when you see how the things transpired with, you know, this guy John Bologna coming up, causing havoc in our area, reporting back to Artie, and I was in the Bronx, and I was sitting in the car with Artie, the acting boss of the Gambinos, sees John Bologna in the car, and he says, "What's JB doing here? He's no good. He's an informant." Now, JB knows about stuff that can give me the rest of my life in prison, a murder, a shooting, all kinds of extortions. So I was in Connecticut with the Patriarcha family. Same thing. They come up to us and they say, this guy, John, that comes up to your area, he's an informant. That's two. That's a captain in the Patriarcha family, a boss in the Gambinos, and then we had a faction in our area that was Genovese family, but in our area, that had inside information that was told that this John Bologna was no good. I approached Artie to clip him, you know, have the guy come up. You'll never see him again. I said, the guy knows a lot. First, he downplayed it with the Gambino guy. He said, they're just jealous that the guy's around me. And then he said, that's good to know, you know, meaning like if we want to get rid of him, that's good to know that we would kill him. After that, he never sent them up. John never came up to Springfield area other than us meeting him in Albany or way up in Connecticut, and Artie was with him, always present. But he never came up, and I think the reason that he did that, Vlad, was because I never got permission to kill my brother-in-law. While we killed my brother-in-law, we were trying to kill some other people at the same time. One Artie knew about. Artie gave the okay to kill another guy. But when Bruno's paper come up, we ended up clipping Bruno. But before we clipped Bruno, we clipped my brother-in-law. And when we clipped him, Artie didn't give permission for that. I did that on my own. So Artie knew that we were wild and we clipped this guy. He asked me, what happened to your brother? I said, he took off to Florida. I think he went with another girl. He left my wife's sister. So I think he thought that we would clip John on our own. And I think that was, a big mistake by him by putting, made guys together with a guy that we were told that was an informant.
Some people will say that you are a sociopath, all right, because of the killing. And I'm sure you have nerves of ice, but there's also, I can see there's a lot of regret naturally in your life. We all have it. We look back in time when there's things we did that we wish wouldn't have happened, or things that we did that we regret. Only a sociopath wouldn't feel that. And I can tell that you do.
Yeah. I mean, I think at the end, faced with life in prison without the possibility of parole, you're going to lose your family and everything. That has a big part of it, and, you weigh in the betrayal of that life with everything that comes your way, the betrayal of people breaking an oath, cooperating, informants coming at you. And you're like a sheep led to the slaughterhouse. You're like a sheep that's being led to be crucified, and then you have a decision to make, and it's a really hard decision. Anybody that tells you, that's probably one of the hardest decisions I ever had to make in my life. It's not something I wanted to do, but at the end of the day, it's something I'm glad I did, and I'm thankful I did at that time to have enough strength to make that decision.